My uncle used to own a farm down in Vermont. He owned a dairy farm.
I never really got to know my family on the Sullivan side.
Living on Edgecroft, which is, to me, is still a homestead.
And so in the spring, usually around Easter, my cousins and I, and there was anywhere from 8 to 12 of us, would go over. We'd open the barn doors and let the ponies out one at a time out into the pasture, which was still full of snow, and they would go out and just go berserk because they'd been penned up for the entire winter.
I had a 3-hour ride before going to Oshawa, so I was freaking terrified. I had all these questions going through my head.
I traveled a lot. I was traveling salesman for a paint company.
And the game that we had to do was see how many ponies you could ride out in the pasture. And the ponies would buck and kick, and they'd fall down in the snow and roll, just like a dog would roll in the snow and wiggle their backs and carry on and so forth. And the intent was to try not get hurt, but you had to get on and get off the ponies as they were standing up and dropping down on the ground to roll.
Will they like me? Will they accept me? I had all these questions going through my head, and then the train broke down.
Many parties we had, always a party. Kids galore.
My grandpa came up to me and he goes, "Do you know who I am?" I'm like, "No." "Well, I'm your papa." I'm like, "Oh, hi." And it was funny because my grandpa's just like me. As soon as we gave the hug, we backed up and we just looked at each other and smiled, and that was it. And it was completely silent. My cousins around us were laughing, but between me and my papa, it was completely natural.
It was fun. It was something we used to do as a family. We got out, in the spring, and we did something together as kids, and the intent was to try and not end up in the hospital, which it wasn't dangerous to do, really. And it helped my uncle out for a little bit, because that was something that one person couldn't do himself. And then we'd herd the ponies afterwards, put them back in the barn and back into their stalls, where they would stay for another 6 months.
People worry about the kids. If you couldn't find one, all you had to do was look in their home. Either Anderson, King, Garbage, or the Bond. There's always kids hanging out. And we had some good times in Edgecroft. Very good time. Tough time. We all moved in there in 1950, I guess, with hardly anything but courage and happy to have a home.
It was definitely worth it because now I get to know these wonderful people.
You might have learned a little bit about cooperating and working together and still having fun doing it. And he was always very appreciative that he had somebody there to give him a hand, because he didn't have to chase the things around the field.
And it was really fun to realize, well, there's people out there just like me, and they actually kind of look like me too, so it was kind of cool.
I did all right, I think. I must have, because I'm still living at the age of 90. It's amazing.